Hello, everybody. This is Kxo Radio AM 1230. Once again, we're lucky to have Mickey Dale in the studio, and he's going to give us an Imperial Valley football update and recap. So, Mickey, take it away.
Kurt, great to be back with you again. We had an exciting one last Friday night up in Valley Center in North San Diego County, as Imperial came away with a 52-47 victory. And it was wild from the beginning. The opening kickoff was taken back 80 yards by Valley Center. In two plays, they scored, and we played a minute and 10 seconds of the game, and the Jaguars led 7-0. They would lead 23-6 early in the second quarter when the Tigers would then start to get their rebound going. They end up making it back even up 26-26 at the half. And then the Tigers would take a 52-33 advantage with just under 6 minutes to go. But the scrappy Jaguars scored twice in the last 3.5 minutes to come to within 5 points. And a recovered onside kick by the Tigers with under a minute and a half to play sealed the victory at 52-47. The Tigers would roll up 621 yards of total offense in the ballgame, led by quarterback Jaden Ayala at what is most productive game wearing the red and white, completing 21 of 24 passes for 344 yards and 5 touchdowns. Rashad Robinson, who was suited up for the first time this season, gained 132 yards and scored a pair of touchdowns for Imperial. And Darren Wesso had a game-high 145 yards rushing and thrilled the Tiger faithful with an 80-yard touchdown scamper. It was Wesso's 5th game in a row where he exceeded over 100 yards in rushing. Mario Gaxiola led the receivers for the Tigers with 148 yards on 7 catches, 3 of those for touchdowns, and 1 of those covering 61 yards. Wesso caught 7 passes for 89 yards and a score. And Gio Robles had 55 yards on 5 catches and scored a touchdown. Defensively, the Tigers were led by J.J. Menace, who was in on 14 tackles in the game. Danny Escobar had 13 tackles, and Darian Romo posted 11 stops for the Tiger defense. Escobar and Robles were also credited with sacks, and Tiger Bozin recorded his 2nd interception of the season. The Tigers will now open Imperial Valley League play on Friday night at home, where they host the Central Spartans, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a little bit. The Jaguars return to their tough Valley League play, where they're 4-2, and they'll take on the Vista Panthers in that game. The initial Imperial Valley League game was played on Friday night, and the Brawley Wildcats came away with a 35-0 shutout of the Bulldogs in Calexico. Quarterback Matt Gutierrez threw 4 touchdown passes in the game all in the first half, as the Wildcats took a 21-0 first quarter lead and never looked back. Running back Matthew Moreno caught 1 of the scoring passes and raced 46 yards for another touchdown. And Sergio Garcia caught an 81-yard touchdown pass. Brandon Porras and Damian Clemente also had touchdown receptions for the Wildcats, who are now 5-0 on the season. They jump into IVL play for 1 week. They'll have a non-league game this week as they host Mission Bay. The Buccaneers are 2-4, and they're coming off an impressive 48-12 win over Morse last Friday. And the 4-2 Bulldogs take the week off before returning to IVL play, hosting Imperial on October 11th. Central defeated Cibola 42-20 in Yuma last Friday night. Running back Nico Viesca was once again the key to the Spartans' victory, rushing for just over 200 yards and had scored 2 touchdowns in the game. He now has over 708 yards rushing on the season with 11 touchdowns. Quarterback Luis Jimenez threw for 193 yards in the game and a pair of touchdowns. That gives him 9 passing TDs on the season. And C.J. Acosta came up with a pair of interceptions to spark the Spartan defense. He now has 3 picks on the season. And as we mentioned, the Spartans will be playing at Imperial on Friday in IVL play. One team had a 5-hour bus trip and got to play half of a game. That's what happened in Hopeville, as the Vikings came away with a 46-7 win over Lake Mead Christian Academy of Henderson, Nevada. The Vikings remained 6-0 on the season. It was a game that was stopped at halftime due to injuries on the Eagles team that left their roster short. Lake Mead Christian Academy won the Nevada 2A championship last season, and they're coached by former NFL quarterback Jay Schrader. Enrique Armas scored 3 times for the Vikings and rushed for 182 yards on just 16 carries. Hector Sanchez rushed for 56 yards and scored a TD that was set up on a blocked punt by Viking sophomore Luis Diaz at the Eagles' 7-yard line. For the Vikings quarterback, Raul Braceno only passed 3 times, completed 2 of them, but it was good enough for 79 yards. Juan Carlos Castillo caught a 49-yard touchdown pass amongst those 3 passes. The Vikings trailed early, 7-6. That's the first time they've been behind in a game all season long. But after that, the Vikings defense smothered the Eagles, holding them to just 20 yards of total offense. Hoville will travel to Coronado. They'll be facing the 3-2 Islanders squad that destroyed Mar Vista 51-8 last Friday. And one of the 2 teams in our area that was still looking for their first win of the season chalked that up last week as Palo Verde defeated Sweetwater 14-10. The 1-5 Jackets will now travel to El Centro to face Southwest on Friday. The Eagles will look for their first win of the season, and that game will be live on Kxo Radio, the Kxo YouTube channel, and on KXORadio.com with Carol Buckley and John Driftwood, Mike's side. The 4-1 Vincent Memorial Scots will return to action after a week off to host the SETI Zorros on Saturday. It'll be their senior night, and the game will be played at Ward Field in Calexico. It will begin at 7 p.m. And the 4-1 Calipatria Hornets, they'll have one more week off before traveling to Chula Vista to meet Victory Christian Academy on October 11th to resume their season. So, Kurt, as I mentioned, it's going to be a big game on Friday night as the Imperial Tigers host the Central Spartans, both teams starting Imperial Valley League play. And you play all those other games leading up to it to get into league and see who can win that. Right now, the Spartans have won the last 2 Imperial Valley League titles. The Tigers will be looking for their first league title since 2015. And this has been a series of streaks as of late. Imperial had won 7 straight over the Spartans from 2010 to 2016. However, Central has won the last 8 meetings against the Tigers, and last year they claimed a 14-10 victory at Cal Jones Field in El Centro. So that'll be a terrific game. Should be a huge crowd out there Friday night, Kurt, and we're certainly looking forward to it.
Well, it looks like a promising week, and let's quickly revisit. Now, listening to you and George last week was exhausting. It was literally exhausting listening to that game. I can't imagine how exhausting it must have been to drive there, call the game, experience the game, and drive home. So you and Mickey did a great job.
Actually, we stayed overnight, both of us, in different areas. George had leading up to a wedding party that was coming up on the next day, and so he stayed already up in San Diego County. And then Peggy and we stayed over in Carlsbad. But you're right, it was a game that I was so keyed up even after it that it was probably close to 1 a.m. before I got to sleep. I was thinking to myself, is this the most exciting game I've seen or called? And the one that was always the yardstick for me was a game in 1973 at Paris. It was the semifinals of the CIF Southern section between Imperial and the Paris Panthers, a game that I think ended up 39-34 with Imperial winning and going on to the championship game and defeating Paso Robles 12-0. But that was a game that went back and forth and back and forth. Each team would score, and when one would, the other would come right back. And that was an exciting game. But this one the other night, with Imperial trailing 23-6 early in the second quarter, to come back to tie the game at 26, and then take a pretty healthy lead into the fourth quarter where you thought things were looking your way, and then all of a sudden Valley Center comes back, scores 2 more touchdowns, the last one in the last minute and a half, and then the game comes down to an onside kick. So, yeah, it was one of those where you finish the game and you just want to take a big breath because it was something else.
Well, big kudos to that Imperial Valley Tiger program because they certainly entertained us last Friday.
They did, and I think it'll be this way this week with the Central Spartans once we get into league play. It'll be pretty exciting on Friday.
All right, everybody. This has been Mickey Dale and KXO Radio AM 1230, bringing you the Imperial Valley Football Update. Thanks for joining us. Tune in Friday, and we'll bring you some more of this. Take care.
Looking for it.